Again, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this month's edition of Acting for Justice. My name is Jack Jezreel. I serve on the staff of Just Faith Ministries. I'm joined by my colleagues, Heidi Villaluz and Leila Oakley, and we're just delighted you could join us this evening or afternoon, depending upon where you are. And as always, we will begin our time together in prayer. This prayer was written by Maryknoll's sister Elizabeth Noel for our program on immigration justice. And I invite all of you to join us in the responses, but keep yourself muted. So let us pray. Creator God, your loving care is a home for all. No one is a stranger to you. With your generous blessings, watch over migrants and all who leave their homes to escape oppression, poverty, persecution, trauma, and violence. Help us to also be sources of blessings through our acceptance and valuing who they are as persons, eager for wholeness of life.
Creator, you taught us to welcome all. Help us to remember that the land we call ours is a gift to be cared for and a gift to be shared with all who come. May we open to all those searching for a safe and peaceful life.
Help us to pour out your love and compassion to all our brothers and sisters.
Creator, help us to respect and revere the unknown between and among us. May we grow into new discoveries and accept new ways of learning about our common needs and desires. May respect and reverence break down our fear, anxiety, suspicion, racism, hate, and close-heartedness towards others.
Creator, we build barriers in our hearts and make judgments that keep us from seeing others for who they are, the potential they have, and talents they have been given. You taught us to give witness to your love for all people. May we be accepting of those who want to be our neighbors. May we rejoice in their talents and accept new life perspectives from them.
Help us to pour out your love and compassion to all our brothers and sisters.
And Creator God, you who are present in all of humankind, guide us to be mindful of your presence and help us to act in ways pleasing to you towards all those who search for a better life. May we reach out to migrants in need of help and acceptance and stand by them as brothers and sisters in Christ. And we ask this through Jesus, the Christ, who was a migrant. Amen. Again, welcome, everyone. It's good to be with you. So now it is my pleasure to introduce you to tonight's panelists, which I will keep brief to allow as much time as possible for our presenters to speak, and I will introduce them in the order in which they will speak. Alecia Brewster is Program Director of Village Engage, a social enterprise of Mill Village Ministries in Greenville, South Carolina, where she co-creates educational programs and events that inspire awareness and action on issues such as civic engagement, poverty, economic mobility, and environmental justice. This year, Village Engage launched the Immigration and Faith Coalition of Greenville, a network of Just Faith graduates and community partners dedicated to equipping residents and faith communities to better love, support, and welcome immigrant neighbors. Welcome, Alecia. PJ Edwards is one of the founders and former board chair of El Refugio Ministry, which accompanies immigrants at Stewart Detention Center, about 2 hours south of Atlanta, serving them and their loved ones through hospitality, visitation, support, and advocacy. The organization sees their work of choosing hospitality as subversive work in the face of relentless attacks on immigrant communities. PJ is also former co-chair of the Detention Watch Network Steering Committee, and welcome, PJ. Karina Barillas is co-founder and executive director of La Casita Center, a Latinx and feminist-led nonprofit in Louisville, Kentucky, born from a vision of and commitment to accompaniment, empowerment, and advocacy. That vision has made La Casita Center a respected place of safety, cultural celebration, inclusivity, and belonging for families facing extreme poverty, food insecurity, and lack of resources. Welcome, Karina. Each of our guests this evening will speak for about 10 minutes, and then we will engage in a little Q&A and conversation. So let's begin with you, Alecia.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, everybody, for the invitation and for allowing this opportunity to talk about something that I had no idea was going to be such a big part of the work that I'm doing. Village Engage is an organization that's near and dear to me, as Just Faith is. I actually took my first Just Faith program probably 4 years ago. It was 2020, so no, 5 years ago now. And it has definitely changed my life. And I'm honored to serve on the board at Just Faith as well. So Village Engage, as Jack mentioned earlier, is an organization that's committed to equipping people in Greenville, South Carolina, to take meaningful action toward justice. So our work includes education, and the core of that education are those Just Faith programs, engagement, and then sustainable action. So about 8 years ago, we were just helping to organize more Just Faith programs in our community, and realized that people, once they were finished with those programs, they wanted to really get engaged and to take action. And so over the years, the engagement and the action part has expanded tremendously. This year, we witnessed a remarkable unfolding of our work, one that began with Just Faith, two groups who had participated in the Just Faith immigration program, as a matter of fact. It was back in January. I participated along with about 14 other people. One group of 7 or 8 met at a large Baptist church, First Baptist Greenville, and a second group gathered at Mill Village Ministries office, where Village Engage is based. While those groups were meeting in separate spaces, it was really wonderful that we decided, since both groups were going to end around the same time, that we would come together and debrief and just share about our journey. And I will say that I went in not really knowing what to expect, and came out, just like in other programs, completely shifted in the way that I thought about immigration and what I knew about our immigration system. So like me, we were all really deeply reflecting on what it was that God would have us to do. Well, it just so happened that we came together and had this wonderful facilitated conversation that was led by Matt Rollins, who also serves as a faith consultant for Village Engage, and he's the community engagement minister at Greenville First Baptist. And we began kind of just talking about what we needed to do, either individually and or collectively. We decided at the end of about an hour and a half conversation that we really needed to get a lot more proximate with the community members who were being impacted by policies that were beginning to just take shape in ways that we had not expected and didn't know what was going to be coming. So just so happened that Village Engage, each year we host a justice dinner for churches and individuals in our community who are interested in really learning about how to grow their justice ministry, to come together. And this year we chose the topic of immigration to be the focal point for that workshop. So those groups of 14, 15 people and the wider community came together, and Village Engage planned to offer these compelling presentations about the misunderstood immigration system. We had experts who were there, and we had lined up to provide some clarity, to correct some misinformation, and really just to offer like this honest, grounded space for the community to come together and learn. We thought, oh, we'll get maybe 75 people when we sent out invitations to congregations within the Village Engaged network and to other people within our network who we thought might be interested. Well, what we didn't realize was that this was something that was on the hearts of many, many more people. We were planning for 75 people to come to this dinner that we hold annually. And as a matter of fact, the year before, we were really excited to have 75 people come to our Just Faith and Justice dinner workshop. Well, this year we had 180 people show up. So that was kind of the beginning of realizing that, you know what, our community was really hungry for the information that we were able to provide during the immigration focused justice dinner. So that also became the catalyst for what eventually became known as this grassroots group of folks. We call ourselves the Greenville Faith and Immigration Coalition. So that dinner workshop was in May. And since then, the core team is about 15 people. We communicate regularly through emails, just keeping everybody up to date about the latest things happening in our community. These 15 people represent, of course, Village Engage, me and Matt Rollins, who is, again, the pastor, one of the ministers at First Baptist Greenville. We also have a Just Faith graduate who has a podcast, the State of Inclusion podcast, who is a part of this core group. We have representatives from immigrant serving organizations, and then other congregations who are really committed to this work. And so that team has just become a really passionate, deliberate, collaborative, and action-focused group that we had not ever imagined would come out of these, 14 or so people who were taking a faith and justice program in January to just being this committed group of folks who are just continuing to work together. So since May, we have, again, accomplished a lot more than I can really even document at this point, or have even documented at this point. But we have been a part of creating an 8-part podcast series on immigrant and refugee stories. So with Amy Sanders, who is the creator, founder of the State of Inclusion podcast, the coalition was able to create this multi-episode series that features the voices and lived experiences of immigrants and refugees in our community. So that podcast not only elevates their narratives, but it's also been so powerful at helping the community really understand how global migration and local history are intersecting to create the things that we most love about our community. In addition to the podcast, we also worked with families and even some children of immigrants who created these beautiful drawings and paintings that help really to connect the hearts and minds of the individuals behind the numbers, because unfortunately we see headlines, and many times the stories just don't really show the humanity of the people behind those headlines. The other thing that we did was we, as a coalition, were able to host another immigration-focused dinner and workshop. So we worked for about a month or so, 6 weeks, to put together another workshop. And again, we offered pretty much the same format: education, myth busting, storytelling. and giving people really actionable things that they could be a part of to take action. Again, we were thinking, okay, we will be really, really excited to get 200 people to come to this event. This time, 300 people showed up for this dinner workshop. So again, we were blown away. But one of the really, really cool things about this second time was that we actually had these families, the families from different parts of refugees in our community, many of whom I would have never, had an opportunity to connect with had it not been for us being really intentional about going and connecting and listening to their stories. And so they came, their families came, and they were thrilled to see their stories reflected in our work and to see their artwork displayed. And then it was even shared through a postcard series that we've created. So what we're very, very excited about is that we are becoming a safe space, a trusted space for people who are interested in doing more, who are interested in doing anything from, helping to maybe fund, provide food, and just really be able to assist in financial ways to individuals who want to get trained to, say, be a part of a responder team when we see that our community members are unsafe. And so we're really proud of that work. And then we're also proud of just the number of new partners we've been able to engage in or engage with, because they too have been very concerned about the unfortunate pathway that our community and our nation is going in. So again, I just want to close by saying that Just Faith was really the foundation and the catalyst for individuals in our community to go from, seeing headlines to really being able to come together to learn deeply about this issue, and then to be able to come together and take real action to meet real-time needs. So we are doing everything again from continuing to do these educational workshops, and we'll do another one in 2026 or two. We don't really know. We're really just going to be ready, discerning, and ready to react in real time to what the need is. But we have folks who have, because of the Just Faith programs and because of these individuals who committed to continuing to show up for our immigrant community, are doing things like providing childcare for refugee parents who are attending English classes, or helping with financial support for legal services, and again, even training to support immigrants who are in harm's way in our community. So I hope to be able to really document the work that we're doing here, to be able to share more broadly about how lives are changed and how we've been able to continue this work and keep this information that we've received through the Just Faith programs and turn it into action. But again, I just want to close with where it all started. It started with those two Just Faith immigration groups, individuals, including myself, who just came because we were willing to learn, we were willing to reflect, and didn't know that I would be stretched. We didn't know that we would be stretched the way that we are, and have been able to grow in the process. So thank you, Just Faith.
All right, I'm PJ Edwards. I'm speaking for El Refugio. I'm Atlanta-based, and we are basically our work is in response to one of the largest immigration detention centers in the country is in rural South Georgia, about a 2.5 hour drive from here. So the four main things that we do, very similar to Alecia, we started out and still do a lot of education and dialogue sessions to educate people about not only immigration detention, but most Americans have no idea how our immigration system actually works. So we try to bridge that gap, and then we try to bring U.S. born and recent immigrants together in guided dialogue, just like Just Faith. It's not a debate. We're not going to solve all the problems. We're just going to try to see the issues through each other's eyes. So that's number one. So education, dialogue sessions. The second is visitation, is visiting people in detention and engaging people, others that don't know about it, to go down and have this immersion experience. The third thing is providing hospitality. We have a hospitality house that we have open on the weekends for friends and families that are coming to visit. As I mentioned, the detention center is in rural South Georgia. People as far away, just generally as North Carolina, but really could be people could be coming from anywhere. But the families that come to visit tend to be coming from North Carolina. So they're driving 10 hours to get a 1 hour visit. The people detained get one hour visit per week, but the weekend's on Saturday. And so they can come visit with us, visit Saturday, visit Sunday, come back 2 weeks later. And then the final thing is advocacy, which we do both direct advocacy for the people that are being detained and the needs that are not being met, and then also systemic change and trying to engage in the ways that we can in systemic change. I don't know what people know about immigration detention, but just a little bit of bullet point background. The US has historically said we detain people because either they're a flight risk or they're a threat to society. And there are neither one of those are true. And also there are better ways to make sure people show up to the immigration court hearings. Most of these people, the vast majority of people detained are seeking asylum. They want to plead their case, they want to stay. And there's much better ways to get people to show up that are less costly and much more humane than detaining them. And then the vast majority of people are not a threat to society or criminals. Like I said, probably, I mean, I'm kind of guessing, but 95 to 99% are people seeking asylum. If they have a criminal record, it's because they got caught driving without a license, which in most states they can't get even if they'd like to, or they'd crossed the border previously and got caught again and then are being detained for that. So there's a lot of misinformation there. So that's kind of the backdrop of our work. Was really out of a frustration and response about how inhumane and unnecessary it all is. So the way I got into it was 2008. I was going through Just Faith for the first time, and the church that my wife and I go to went from majority white to majority Latino almost overnight, caused a lot of issues. So again, we wanted to try to bring people together around the issue. It was also an election year. So with some help from the Archdiocese and some permissions, which weren't always easy to get, we started doing these education dialogue sessions just in our church, and it became popular and started doing them for other churches and colleges and universities. And there's not a ton of people in Georgia that really care much about immigration tensions. So somehow we found each other, and about 12 of us got together, about half of us Just Faith grads, to go down and kind of visit on our own for the first time, because there's a lot of people that would like to get a visit that won't get one. So in 2008, we did our first visit, and didn't take me long to realize how powerful it was, and that we could really have a lot of people come as immersion experience. So we really believe, as probably many of you do, that of the transformative relationship that relationships have. So logically, I can say immigration detention is bad, but then when you go down and have that experience and see for yourself, it will engage you in the heart. And then we hope to help you also think about systemically things we could maybe try to do to make some changes. So in 2008, we started doing those visits. And as I mentioned, and by the way, visiting has two components. So it's definitely a humanitarian visit for the person being detained. There is nothing to do in immigration detention. It's worse than criminal facilities in some ways, in the sense that there's no rules, there's no oversight. You're not going to get your GED. You're not going to learn how to install solar panels. You're really just there being warehoused for money until you're probably likely going to be deported. So it's really meaningful for the people that somebody from Atlanta or somewhere would take the time out of their day to come reaffirm their humanity and spend that time with them. On the other side, it's a tremendous immersion experience for people. It's kind of a multifaceted the visit. It's also in one of the poorest counties. And so people in the metro area up here have no idea what Southern poverty looks like, and it's a real thing. And that's what these for-profit companies look for. They're the biggest game in town. They pay the most taxes. They're the biggest employer. So unless there's some kind of economic alternative, then it's going to be hard to dislodge them from this place. And then if you're a Christian, it's a really good deal. I mean, you get to, visit, welcome the stranger, visit those in prison, feed the hungry. Sometimes they're sick. So I mean, hey, it's a good deal if you're trying to be Christ-like, a good way to come down. I'm kidding a little bit, but it's a very powerful roller coaster experience when you see how appreciative people are, how appreciative the families are that are staying with us, and then also very heartbreaking and frustrating about the systemic nature of it. So in 2010, somebody else said, "Hey, why don't you geniuses open up a hospitality house because all these families are driving down, and you can give them a place to stay." So we took a chance and we rented a house. We own a house now, but we rented one because we had no idea how people would respond. Because I feel like a lot of Americans want to fix things, and what a lot of these folks really need is attorneys. And we're not providing legal services. This is really just about being present, Christian hospitality again. We were frustrated. What can we do? And we can be present and welcome these people and visit and walk alongside our friends that have been detained and have gone through the deportation process. But the response was wonderful. A lot of Just Faith groups really helped us out, donating stuff we need to come volunteer. It's not an easy weekend. There's a lot of uncertainty when you go down. You really are welcoming the stranger because you don't know who's going to be staying with you. You don't know who's going to be knocking on the door. You're not. There's a lot of uncertainty about what could happen, and so we have some brave, about 12 of us. Not a purposely disciple like, but 12 of us started, and still there's probably solid 12 of us that our house coordinators that go down on the weekends to run the house and run the operation. Then we'll take a number of other volunteers with us. And then we work with colleges, churches, universities to have these visitation groups who might just come down for the day to visit. But anyway, so we open up the hospitality house where people can stay in a safe, welcoming environment for free with us. And again, in that last piece, which has really been a healthy struggle for us to figure out what to do as far as systemic change. We're not having a lot of success, honestly, with that, but we try to use what we have, which is stories and information. And so we'll work with groups like Detention Watch Network, which Jack mentioned in my little bio there. They're a national group that have policy people that can guide us, that can help us organize protests and other things. We work with groups like the ACLU of Georgia to provide them information so they can write reports, and other colleges that do research and things like this to try to engage in the ways that we can while we're doing the work that we do. I think one of the wonderful things about the organization is we do engage hundreds of people every year, both the people that we visit and the families we serve, but also we have multiple types of visitors from these visitation groups. We have a group that has a helpline, so if people are calling us needing information, we have volunteers that staff that. Recently, we've had local volunteers that are coming to help us just take care of the house and to relieve our Sunday people from Atlanta to go home a little early, and then they come after church and just serve from 2 to 5 as things slow down at the house a little bit. So it's been a great way to engage people. It is an emotional roller coaster to do it, as I mentioned, but always very rewarding and meaningful. If not rewarding, definitely very meaningful to do that. And definitely a large shout out to Just Faith. The program really helped prepare me, I think, for serving in this. And as I mentioned, half of us at the start were Just Faith grads, and so it was very easy to go to the Just Faith community in Atlanta to look for help and support. And it's really been a blessing to have that and to have that. It's kind of served for me, serving those purposes. Sometimes people invite me to talk about El Refugio, and then I'll tell them about Just Faith, and they invite me to talk about Just Faith, I'll tell them about El Refugio. So it's really been a good symbiotic relationship for me. And I will leave it there. So thanks again for having me.
Buenas noches, everyone. I want to start by saying a couple of things. The one prayer that I have before I start is that if at any moment anything that I say offends you, makes you feel uncomfortable, or makes you feel guilty, or makes you feel angry, for you to pause for a little bit and take a deep breath and pray. And perhaps take the time to reflect, why is it that my comments are bothering you? And why is it that what I'm sharing with you makes you feel uneasy? And the reason why I say this is because sometimes, as someone that has been doing the work for so long. And as an immigrant myself, as a Latina Louisvillian, being in the city for 31 years, what I have noticed is that people struggle so much with believing the stories of immigrants because they cannot pass our accents and they cannot pass the color of our skin. So I want to lift up that prayer because that's a reality for me and for my people and for my family. What is happening right now doesn't have anything to do with politics. It has to do with something that is so systemic and so ingrained in who we are as a nation. I never knew racism. I'm from Guatemala when I was in Guatemala until I came to Louisville, Kentucky back in 1994. And it is not that Guatemalans are not racist. Oh, we are racist, just like anyone that has an European colonizer vision of the world. And because I'm a mestiza, and most of the people that I grew up with look like me, I didn't encounter and didn't understand until I came here and find myself in the middle of racism and learn from my indigenous and Afro-Latina sisters the struggles of racism in their lives. How we came about La Casita Center, a Latinx-led organization, unique in the state of Kentucky. We are the largest Latinx-led. 97% of our staff is Latinx, and 98% of our board is Latinx. For us, what happens on a daily basis, not only through different governments, is not something that we read in the newspaper of someone comes to tell us about it. It's something that we have to live with on a daily basis. I want to ask you all, kind people, faithful people that are with us tonight, if you have with you right now, if you are at home, if you have something with you right now that proves that you are a US citizen and that you can grab, just like I'm grabbing this piece of paper like this. Your driver license doesn't count. Your real ID doesn't count. The only piece of information that counts right now would be your passport, your social security number that has the same name that you have with a picture ID. Now, if your answer is, I don't have anything with you, let me ask you another question. If ICE or immigration enforcement comes to your house, or you are about to go in your car and immigration enforcement comes to you, would they come and ask you or detain you or take you away? If the answer is yes, I really hope that you have already done your safety planning and that you are aware of what your rights are. If the answer is no, can someone really quick write in the chat, why is it that they won't come to you and ask you and detain you? What is the difference between you and me? And why would they come to me and ask me or take me away and kidnap me? What is the difference? Again, it is the color of our skin. And thank you, Mary Jo, for saying yes, it's the color of our skin. So that's what we live right now on a daily basis. As a mother of two college students that live in Chicago, I understand in so many levels the fear that communities have, because I can be detained at any time. The America that I live, how I am surviving, is not the America that white people are living and surviving, because there is no story that I'm being here and I'm being present and having my children in Chicago, and for them calling me and saying, Mommy, ICE is around the campus. We have our red cards. We know what to do. We know our rights, and we are ready to activate our safety plan. The fear as a mother, not only as an activist, as a Latina leader, as an executive director, the fear as a mother just to think that my children are at risk, or the children and the young people that I love and I have mentored for all their lives are at risk. The tears in the eyes of children when they come to me and they say, because they see me everywhere, they see me in the news, they see me in the newspaper, they see me on social media, and they come to me and say, Miss Karina, can you please tell the president not to take my mommy away? What do you tell that child? What do you tell the moms? For all of us that have babies, when you put your baby to sleep, what do you want? For them to be peaceful, for them to be quiet, for them to rest. But what do you tell a mother that has to tell her daughter, please, please don't cry, so they don't hear us? Because if they hear we're here, we're going to get detained and we're going to get separated. So this work for me is personal. This work for me, I cannot rest. I cannot say, oh, I'm home, I'm done, already heard what is happening. For me is being afraid to go to my garden and work on my flowers, on my vegetables, on my herbs, because I don't know if someone is gonna come to my home and take me from there. So this is so deep and so fearful. And I'm telling you all of this because there are not enough words in the world to tell you the pain that the immigrant and the Latinx community is facing right now. We need more than prayers. We need more hospitality houses. We need more people that are willing to put themselves between danger and us. That's what we need. Meanwhile, in the work of La Casita as an organization that grew from the work of accompanying Latina victims surviving domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. And now, after 20 years of our official 20 years, we see ourselves in so much need because it is beyond domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. Only this year, we had at the beginning of January, we had walk-ins, people coming to get their food or case management or ask questions. Last month, the month of October, we almost have 500 people. And I'm not good at math, but I know that that percentage is really huge. So after 20 years, when people ask me, what do you do? I tell them, you name it, we do it. And if we don't do it, we make it up. Because we don't have time to be thinking and writing. And our strategic plan is to survive, to making sure that those babies have diapers, those families have food. We have a hospitality team because we are a community of Latinx hospitality. Besides anything else, our hospitality team makes sure that we have cafecito, we have coffee, we have breakfast, we have lunch, and we have dinner. So when people come to see us, we feed them, we love them, and then we ask them, what can we do for you today? What paperwork? Do you want to talk to one of our attorneys? But because right now we are at a point where more than things, hospitality and presence is needed. So our work as a Latinx-led organization through the years has been the survival, but also the empowerment. What I can tell you right now that I am so humbled by that the divinity, love, the creation has given us is that some of the women that we started accompanying back in the day that survived that survived domestic violence or sexual assault, now they are part of our staff, or their children are part of our staff, or they are our interns, or they are our volunteers. Because what we want is that this big movement of Latinx community is strong and is ready to sustain itself, not only with money, because money is only money, but with people power, with belonging. I cannot tell you, my brothers, my sisters, my siblings, the times that I have had to invite myself to the table and bring another chair for someone else. Because again, we have been, and I don't know how it is where you come from, but where I come from, we sometimes are an afterthought. Sometimes I am invited to be in places because they want to say that they are diverse. Ooh, diversity, a bad word currently. But that is something that we need to think about as a community, as people of faith. What are we doing? Are we just want, sometimes people get mad at me because they say, can you say something positive? Can you say something, that uplifts us and make you see what we can do? And I tell them, my loves, my beloveds, I am so sorry. There is nothing positive that I can tell you right now. But what I can tell you is that us as people of the Americas have been surviving 530 years of colonization, and that is our strength. That resiliency is our strength. That's why right now, in the moments where I am right now putting myself at risk while talking to you. So when you share this video to people that know that you are putting me and my family and my community at risk, because not everybody thinks that we are human. Not everybody believes that we deserve to be treated as humans. How would you know someone is or isn't a criminal? Anyone that is not Anglo-Saxon, Caucasian, and that has an accent is at risk at this moment to be kidnapped. So this is something very, very serious. So for us, continue doing the work of advocacy, having our legal clinic, having our kindergarten readiness, having our accompaniment to families that have children, youth, adults with special care needs, having our hospitality program with food, with clothing, with diapers, with soup kitchen, having our mental health service, having our health empowerment, having all the other accompaniments that are part of who we are is not a choice. And most of us, the 40 something staff at La Casita, most of us do this work because we believe that our community deserves to live in peace. We deserve opportunity. We deserve investment. We deserve to go in the street without being fearful that something bad is going to happen to us. So as we speak right now, I want to ask you, please believe our stories. Wherever you are, and if you want to create an impact in those communities, make sure that any initiative is immigrant led. It is so hard, my friends, my beloved community. It is so hard that we get people that come and tell us how we have to survive. Please believe our expertise, our experiences. I and others, we are tired that we have to give people pity and compassion for them to believe how much we are suffering right now. So, with this, what I want to share with you today, all the prevention in the world, all the intervention on the world is going to be meaningless if we don't change the way that we are providing services, because it's beyond praying, it's beyond money, it's beyond anything that the system mainstream has told us to do. Listen to the ancestral voices. Listen to Black communities that are suffering so much right now because we are all as racist as we could be in small ways and in big ways. Please listen to immigrant people that are here just like most of your ancestors were here, unless you're Native Americans or your ancestors were brought into slavery. But the point of all of this is like, how are we not staying silent? How are we putting ourselves with all the transparency, without our biases, without our desire of rescuing others, or without us knowing and feeling self-righteous that we know how communities have to protect themselves? I am really proud of living in Louisville, Kentucky. We have a community of white people that not only love us, but that believe us and that listen to us. It has taken them years to call on other white people We have created organizations like the Interfaith Coalition from Immigrant Justice, where priests, pastors, and anyone that is part of faith groups want to listen and support us, but want to believe us and support us and be in solidarity in the ways that we need them to be in solidarity with us. We have also organized the Louisville Coalition from Immigrant Support, where the 17 nonprofits, including La Casita, that serve immigrants and refugees, we get together, and the LCIS is trying to get us funds so we don't have to close our doors and we can continue doing the hard work. The 17 organizations are organizations that are not only Latinx. We have people that come from the refugee settlements, people that are from communities from Africa, from communities from the Middle East. So we have representation in the work that we do. As this very young-looking elder, something that I'm trying to do is to avoid that our younger nonprofit leaders, our younger leaders, immigrant leaders in general, have to be an afterthought, but that they have to be at the table and open the doors for them. And they don't have to wait 20 years to be courageous to tell their story. So I know might be really hard to not to not to be able to give you some words of hope, because yes, there are detentions. The detentions and the way that they are being done are very hush hush. People that are affected want to stay invisible, want to stay in a place where nobody can see them. So it is so difficult to report it for us. So um, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my heart. I come from a faith, from the faith of the liberation theology that says that we are one of the poor and that all of us should be supported because it is all of us or none of us.
Karina, PJ, Alecia, thank you so much, each of you, for sharing with us. We have a few questions that have come in the chat, and we will get to those in just a moment. So I invite you to take a second, add a heart, a clap of hands through the panel down below for our presenters, and go ahead and send in some questions or comments for them. While I give you a moment to do that, I am going to just share a couple upcoming opportunities with you all. I wanted to let you know about our Faith and Immigration program. And this program, Alecia referenced during her sharing, this program provides an opportunity for holy and healthy dialogue around immigration, which can be a highly contentious topic. And it creates space for people to share, to learn, to ask questions, and to consider how their faith connects with their response. Some of the questions explored in this program are, why don't people get in line to become citizens? Why do people migrate? What does the Bible say about immigration? And many more questions. So if you're interested in diving deeper, learning about our country's history of immigration and our current immigration policies, I encourage you to take a peek, look at the link in the chat, and consider bringing a group together to learn and then to find ways to take meaningful action together. Also wanted to let y'all know we have an Advent program in case you are looking for a program for the upcoming Advent season starting here in just a minute. That program's titled Through the Wilderness: Healing for a Weary World. And this program explores what it means to embody a prophetic love and courage in today's world and creates space to dream of a world made whole and to begin walking towards it. So if you're interested, you can register through the link in the chat. You could also register for the Advent series and bundle it with our Lent 2026 series if you want to go ahead and get some programming for that season. So the link again is in the chat there. And then finally, I invite you to join us. If you are new to Just Faith Ministries, if you want to learn more about our work, learn more about how you can get involved, you can actually join the three of us you can join Jack, Heidi, and myself on November 24th. We'll be hosting a presentation titled Faith That Does Justice, and we'll share how to inspire congregations, organizations, and community to take action. Steps that lead from prayerful dialogue and meaningful learning into concrete action steps. Just Faith tools to mobilize and equip volunteers and leaders to effectively serve with compassion. So if you want to come learn about our work, learn about how you can use it as a tool in your community, we invite you to join us on the 24th. Now, with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Jack and to Heidi to moderate our Q&A for our speakers this evening. Sorry, Jack. It looks like maybe you aren't able to unmute. Hold on one moment. Not my apologies. Let's see.
That's okay. While Jack is waiting to unmute, I can start with a question that came out of the chat for our presenters. We heard from each of the organizations on the different range of ways that they provide services to communities and individuals, direct service, indirect service, and education. Could you talk a little bit about some strategies that folks can use in their communities to protect immigrants? There's two questions actually: protect immigrants who are maybe facing arrest, and anywhere along that process. And then a follow-up question from someone else was immigration enforcement. That is, what immigration enforcement is acceptable. And so what are some things that people can do when they're facing those kind of situations? One, to be cognizant of rights and the rights of others, and how to participate in both a safe and moral way as their faith calls. And so whoever would like to begin with these questions.
Well, if I may, really quick, some of the, because this is not our first rodeo, unfortunately, I see, I'm very Louvillian, our very first rodeo. So in the times of 9/11, that was the very first time where we saw raids in the city of Louisville. So back then we started with a series of Know Your Rights. Then, before the pandemic, during that first government, we took off everything that we have learned, before President Obama, and start looking at how to build from something that we had already trained the community locally. And then, this second time around, enforcing and listening to the community, because that's the most important thing, as a Latina leader in my community. It will be very unfair if I decide for the people that I accompany, if I decide for the community that I accompany. So we were listening. What are people listening? What are people saying? I'm sorry, listening to what people are saying, trying to see what the needs were all around our community, and preparing them. Because I don't know where this video is gonna go. I don't feel comfortable saying all the strategies that we're doing, but what I'm doing is that we are creating prevention strategies that will help people feeling safe.
PJ or Alecia, would either one of you like to respond to that question? You're certainly not obliged.
I think that Karina said it well. If you're asking like what we do at the hospitality house to protect people, there's some really good training out there. For example, we make sure it's clear that it's a private space. If ICE were to show up, we train our people the difference between an administrative warrant, which isn't worth anything, versus a real warrant, which has a person's name on it, signed by a real judge, and then we would have to ask that person to leave the house if that were to happen. And whatnot. And there's a few other things we do. Anything that happens at the house, outside the house, it would be recorded. So we would have that. Not that would stop anything. And unfortunately, we've not had to deal with that. Then there's other strategies we talk about very operationally, the way we work. The big risk for families coming to visit that might have undocumented members is the drive down. They're driving a long way through rural parts of the country that aren't very well populated. including through a military base that has very robust traffic enforcement. And so we really give them some strategies, and we actually try to find volunteers. So they literally have volunteers in North Carolina that will drive families down so that they can visit their loved ones and whatnot. And then larger advocacy, like even at the state level, there's things that we try to advocate for, not that we're having any success, but we think about what would keep people out of immigration. And a lot of that is having a driver's license. If we were about public safety, and up until about 2003 in Georgia, if you were living here, you could apply for a driver's license, but they changed it so you had to have status. And now if you get picked up without driving out a license, you're going to be in the county jail, and then ICE is going to come get you, chances are, the way things are operating under this. So there's larger things to think about as well, the strategies to keep people out of ICE. And of course, you know, too long of a story for tonight, but changes with our immigration system to allow more people to come and work while still protecting the workforce here as well. And there's been many things that are proposed, but obviously in the political environment we have, it's unlikely that anything like that is going to pass.
Mhm. Thank you.
And I'll just add for us, we do take cues from our organizations that are doing the legal assistance work. So for example, Immigrant Connection, there's a national network of Immigrant Connection organizations that provide legal assistance to those navigating our system, and they stay very current with the changes. And so we are just we just stay in very close contact, and Immigrant Connection is actually also has been a large part of our grassroots kind of bringing together all of these different organizations. So I think if someone is looking to get involved in a meaningful way, I just will always go back to what Karina said, is listen, be hospitable, just like you would for anyone else who is being targeted, or, is a marginalized individual who, is going to need your support. You have to have a relationship to know what they need when they need it.
Thank you. And this is just a note for all the speakers and for everyone. If there are organizations like the one Alecia just mentioned that are maybe nationally accessible, we'll make sure to include those with the recording when we send them out. And very much respecting what Karina said about safety. There are some resources you can find online. We'll send some of those out too about what to do when you're witnessing something in a safe way. Some common knowledge kind of pieces we can send out as well. Jack, other questions that came in?
Yeah, let me bundle two questions. You can answer either one or both if you like. One is what have you learned in your work that you want everybody on the call here tonight to hear? Now that's number one. And or number two, what mistakes can you help us avoid? For those of us looking for ways to get involved, what would you recommend, and what would you warn us about? And so take it in whatever direction that you like.
So many mistakes, so many lessons. One thing that makes it difficult to tell people what to do to respond to immigration is different communities are so different. The situation where I'm at is very different than, say, Minneapolis or even Chicago. And so it's not a one size fits all. As Just Faith talks about, like, we don't have one leader, we have a very integrated group that comes together that's very connected with the people that we serve. We have affected people that are part of our strategy and decision-making process. So that's very important. And then just you have to work as a community, and it does take all different types. Like, some of us are business people that are very good at organizing and to try to put those skills in. We have people that are very passionate about the advocacy to try to roll those voices in, but it really does have to be kind of a community response. and there's not always easy answers. And again, what we do came out of what can we do? What does the community need? So we're not attorneys and we can't be attorneys. Some of us are trying to become attorneys, but we could provide that Christian hospitality and journey with the people that are there and be with people in margins and try to really form those relationships. Like I know that some people are relieved when after I talk, they go, "Oh, but I don't speak Spanish, so I can't come service." Like, sorry, it's not an excuse. We got plenty of bilingual people, and we want you to come down and be with us. So we try to engage as many people as we can. We started out as faith-based, and it really was coming from a Christian perspective, but we're also not trying to evangelize. So we wrote something that we call our "We Believe" statement that affirms human dignity. And if you can kind of buy onto these things, whether you're atheist, Buddhist, Muslim, whatever, if you can buy onto this "we believe" stuff, then hey, we're the group for you. So we try to communicate how we operate and who we're about to try to be as inclusive as we can. The work that we do, honestly, is kind of self-selective. If you don't like immigrants, or you're not feeling like you've got an open heart, and if you're not open to see things from a non-privileged perspective, you're probably not going to drive 2.5 hours from Atlanta down to rural South Georgia, to be honest with you. So that's helped us out a little bit, but just involving as much community as you can and trying to leverage the skills, that you have in the most helpful way to the people you're trying to serve.
Alecia or Karina?
The one thing that I've learned has been humility. When I was younger and I arrived to this country, I thought that I knew everything about my people and who I was as a person. And as I share with you all, it has been through the years that I have learned of the pain and the suffering of the consequences of colonization and imperialism in my people, in our communities. So I've learned, humility and I have also learned that even if you speak more than one language, but if you are unkind, if you are racist, if you are self-centered, it is not as valuable as only speaking, let's say in this case, as PJ was saying, if you speak only English, but if you are kind and you are in solidarity, kindness and solidarity don't need translation. So those are the things that I have learned and I try to live by. The things that I will say for us to avoid, we as humans in general, in all the cultures, and especially in cultures that are Eurocentric, there is this idea that someone has to be the savior, that we have to rescue people. So I will avoid, to immediately go and say like, how can I rescue? How can I save you? Like thinking, we are Superman and because Superman is dear in our hearts and is part of who we are as a society. So avoiding feeling as a superhero and rescuing people, avoiding as well to judge people, like why did they come? Why did they cross the border and they brought their kids? And look, it's their fault. If your ancestors were immigrants, why did they cross the huge ocean to come here as well? And then the final one is if you are in solidarity and if you are serving and if you are accompanying, if you are donating, um, at times I see that people feel like victims. Oh my gosh, I gave them $100 and I gave them a suggestion and I didn't take my suggestion. Oh my gosh, they just used me for my $100. So those are the three things that would avoid either, feeling as a rescuer or a savior, to judge people or to feel as a victim if you don't get the reward that you think that you need to get for being in solidarity.
Thank you. Alecia.
I love, yeah, kindness doesn't need translation, compassion doesn't need translation. That is needed just with every human being we've run into. And I think, yeah, we all know how to receive that. I would say, just thinking about, mistakes made, one of our very first meeting bringing together the two Just Faith groups, we thought we were coming together to plan what we were going to do, only to thankfully come to our senses and realize, well, hey, how can we plan what to do for individuals who none of us were feeling like we were going to be personally impacted by these policies. So we had to stop and realized that we couldn't plan anything until we had conversations with communities, with congregations that were experiencing the direct impacts of the policies. And so I would say that was kind of that first lesson that we learned. And certainly, I'm sure that we have made mistakes. One that I know I certainly made was not setting enough tables for the people that were wanting to come to these workshops. I think that we may, because of maybe hearing a lot of the negative, very harmful things that people say, assume that there aren't many people who really do care and really do want to learn more. And so I would say, that is something that we should just really keep in mind, that there are many, many people in our communities who really do want to understand the situation. And so just keeping an open mind, as Karina said, and I think has been repeated with everybody, because I think we don't know until we have that relationship where someone is on the issue and how open they are to learning and shifting and growing.
Thank you, Alecia.
Heidi, we might have time for one more question. Do you have one that you'd like to ask?
Yeah, I'm gonna bundle a few of them together. Been a kind of a range, and so I'm gonna ask them together and let our panel kind of choose their own adventure. We've had some folks who have been asking about different ways of taking a first step, taking action, ranging from advocating for closure of detention centers to helping people to gain immigration status, to whether to work on convincing people who are maybe see themselves as a law and order and kind of person, and or combating or addressing the civil rights and the human rights violations that they might be witnessing. And so, given all the different paths, what recommendations would you have about how to get started, how to choose which place to get started? Maybe from your experiences, what you've seen recently, is there something that is more of a dead end at this time, or a place where you think that the need is greatest and you would recommend that people go in that direction? Because I think one thing that folks are from the chat I can see is they're discerning which way to go first, and there's a lot of different pathways that maybe they can expend their energy. And so, what would you recommend around decision making around all those different kind of routes?
Oh, Heidi, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I will be brief, believe it or not. There is probably a organization that exists in your community that serves immigrants, and I would find out who those people are. I would try to understand what they do and see if there's some way that you can help them. And they might give you some ideas. Like there's a group here called Georgia Georgia Latino Alliance for Human Rights. They work throughout the state. They're like the hotline for anything immigration, and they're friends. And one of the things, when we wanted to do our first visits, we had to know who to visit. It's not like you can go show up at the detention center and say, I want to visit somebody, let me visit somebody, and that's going to happen. You need to have their information. So they said there are families that would love their loved one to be visited, but we're undocumented, so we don't want to drive down there. We can't, or we're in LA. Do you have someone that's compassionate that could just go spend an hour, with my husband? And yeah, we can do that. And that was one of the ways we got started with doing the visitation.
Thank you. Alecia or Karina?
Um, I know that search showing up for racial justice is a national organization. So I will highly recommend, and I'm gonna write it in the chat. Our chapter is L Search, and it is Louisville showing up for racial justice. I will look them up. If you are from the white community, please get trained. Please organize with them. They are our trusted allies, and I'm pretty sure that they are trusted allies in other parts. I will also, you know, see if you have just like PJ said, an organization in your city or in your state that is already serving the community. As I shared with you all before, if you approach them in the sense of like, how can I be of service? And they might say, thank you, but right now we cannot get volunteers or anything else. But do you want to be on the waiting on our newsletter list? And that's all, perhaps at the time, because sometimes, um, and I say this with a lot of love, sometimes it is so hard to make people understand that, like, there are two options. People are scared, hungry, and babies need diapers, and I have to hustle for that, and that's what we need. Or we can, go and explain people, or and hear people's ideas. So, approach that with humility, approach that with an open heart, and just don't give ideas out of giving ideas. Listen, because sometimes, like, and what do they? I mean, like, it is overwhelming to hear and people even get angry that their ideas are not helpful. So go with your open heart, go to listen, and let the loving spirit of the universe guide you.
Yeah, I completely, yeah, ditto what PJ and Karina just said. And the only other thing I would add, well, actually, two things. One, I just saw Teresa say, take a Just Faith program to kind of get your foundation if you have not already done that. And I would highly recommend that. But also, a lot of us have just started like being intentional about supporting immigrant-owned businesses. And I would recommend that you do that. So that's, yeah, the only other thing that I want to add. And just again, want to, shout out that there are, these organizations in every community, I'm pretty sure, that are doing some amazing work and unfortunately have lost funding like a lot of nonprofit organizations have. And so please do make sure you check on them financially if you can support in that way.
Alecia, Karina, and PJ, we're so grateful. This is a very difficult topic, a lot of pain and suffering. But you have, I think, brought to light some real possibilities for people to take steps forward. Your wisdom here is so appreciated. I'm grateful for your time. May I invite all of us who have gathered for this to extend a silent clap for our three panelists. We're so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And just to restate, Leela will be sending an email to everybody who registered on Monday with the video link to tonight's presentation. So we'll close our time together tonight with prayer. This prayer was also written by another Maryknoll sister, Teresa Baldini, also for our program on immigration justice. So let us pray.
Keep on loving one another as brothers and sisters. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers. For by so doing, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. Continue to remember those in prison as if you were together with them in prison, and those who are mistreated as if you yourself were suffering.
O gracious one, you remind us to welcome strangers always, for by doing this, some people have entertained angels without knowing it. We see this as more than just the hospitality of an open door. It is a readiness to be open to the unexpected in human relationships and events. It is to entertain mystery and to make room for you in the many ways you reveal the Christ to us, especially through the stranger. It is the discovery of your hidden presence in everyone and in all of creation. May our prayer for each other deepen this gift in our lives. May it be so.
And now, as with every session of every program, we close with the circle of prayer as we are united across the country through a common work for justice and peace.
Again, you're welcome to join with me and stay muted. We pray. We are disciples on a journey. We are the body of Christ broken for the world. We hold one another as we carry the concerns of each other and our neighbors. We pray also for the members of the Just Faith community across the country. Unite us through the power of your Holy Spirit, that together we might participate with you in the building of your kingdom in order to create a more just and peaceful world. Amen. Again, good night, everyone. Thank you for being with us. Feel free to wave to your colleagues from all around the country. It was good to have you with us tonight. Thanks again.